Hello and welcome back to our podcast, Healing Our Community with Dr. Ray and Jean. Hi, I am Dr. Ray.
And I am Jean.
And today we are talking about cognitive distortions. We are also live on location at the Technical College of the Rockies. We are providing a behavioral health training for the Sheriff's Office. And we are on lunch break right now.
Yeah.
So it just works out perfectly that we're able to do the podcast right now. It is also outside again, which always brings about some technical challenges. So you just kind of bear with us or let us know if it's not coming through. We have no way to know whether it's coming through or not. Also, again, as a reminder, this is live. So if you have questions or comments, please just put it in the chat box and we'll be able to see those. So without further ado, let's talk about cognitive distortions. And I think first we need to talk about how they develop and why they develop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, whenever something happens to us, we have to react to it. And as children, we're going to react in any way that makes sense and does the job. So if we don't have parenting or other mentors that help us find a more functional way, we are going to do this dysfunctional way that at least works temporarily, even though it causes us long-term problems.
Yeah, and this is typically something that develops from a trauma or from a challenging or stressful situation. Mm-hmm. We find some way of coping with that situation, and it seems to work in the moment. So because it works, it's something that we tend to repeat. Right.
And interestingly, there's only 12. So of all the human beings that exist on the planet, we all fall into these categories when we're doing a dysfunctional reaction to something that's a stressor.
Yes. So the first...
They call it the dirty dozen.
They call it the dirty dozen. Yeah, I need to make this bigger so I could see. All or nothing thinking. That doesn't help me. It helps you guys. Yeah.
So all or nothing thinking is like black and white thinking. There's good and bad, right and wrong, and it doesn't leave room for other opinions or alternative options.
Yeah, you're either a success or a failure. There's no middle ground. It's just really seeing things in black and white. And it's, that's basically what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Overgeneralization is the next one here. Let's see it too. Yeah, that's showing up for you guys, so that's good. Taking one single negative event like a bad date and deciding it is a never-ending pattern of defeat.
Yeah, I don't love that example, but it could be, I didn't get this job, so I'm not going to ever get any job.
Yeah.
Or, anything that gives you that thing that says one thing can determine your whole life.
You just apply that negativity to everything. Just one negative event, and then you overgeneralize it to everything.
I can't do anything right.
Right. Number three is mental filter. So where you pick out a single negative detail, you dwell on it so exclusively that your entire vision of reality becomes darkened.
Yeah, I have a really good example of this. Is kind of a strange story. This client of mine, she was in a car wash. And, when you're in the car wash and all the things are going, you're totally in the dark. And all of a sudden, she hears this wham and her airbags go off. And what had happened is the car in front of her went into reverse. It was a new driver, went into reverse, and as fast as she could went backwards instead of outside of the car wash. And when she got out of the car wash, she was very upset. Obviously, she still is. But she went and was really kind to this woman who hit her. She was like, "Are you okay? I know it was an accident." But all she could see was this terrible thing happen to her in the car wash when I was talking to her. She forgot that she responded in this really positive way.
Yeah.
So she was only focusing on that this happened to her, but actually she really showed up pretty well.
So the fourth cognitive distortion is called disqualifying the positive. So you reject positive experiences by insisting that they don't count. So just totally discount anything positive happening to you. So like if someone compliments you, you tell yourself, well, they're just being nice.
Yeah, or someone does something well, really nice for you, and you're like, well, it's not going to last. They're not going to do it. It's kind of like when the parents say, you got all A's, you better keep it up.
Yeah. Just totally minimizes, and you feel minimized.
Yeah.
If you're on the receiving end of that, I should say. This one is, let's see, you guys should see this, right? Mind reading. So this is where you assume you know what others are thinking. Usually it's negative. You think that you know what they're thinking, and they're thinking negative about you, and you don't have any actual evidence about that.
So if you've read the 4 agreements, right, this is don't make assumptions. And in assumptions, we have all these things we're playing out all by ourselves that aren't even true. And it's really sucks up a lot of our energy to be a mind reader and solve problems that don't exist.
Yes, yes. So the next one is called fortune telling. All right. And it's exactly what you think it is. And the fortune telling, this is where you predict that things are going to turn out badly before they even happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why should I apply for that job? I'm not going to get it anyway.
The next one is a very common one, and this is something that a lot of people do. It is called catastrophizing. You know, it says here magnification, but we all know it in the field as catastrophizing. And this is where you exaggerate the importance of your problems, or you minimize your strengths until they seem tiny.
You know, and this can happen really easily if you live in a household where they don't tend to anything. And so when something small is happening, it doesn't really get any energy. So you have to like scream about something small just to get someone's attention. That's how this one develops.
The next one is emotional reasoning. So this is where you assume that your negative emotions reflect the way things really are. I feel like an idiot, therefore I must be one. So you define yourself based on your negative emotions.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. Move on to the next one. Nothing you want to add about that one?
Just that, you know, the most dangerous place to be is in your head by yourself. And, you know, our emotions are, they're a limited amount of things for a big amount of life experiences. And we often superimpose that onto things that are loosely associated, and it can really get us stuck.
Number 9. 9 is should statements. All right, this is where people are shoulding all over themselves.
Yeah. I like the one where, and this isn't a should statement, but it's the same idea, where they say, I can't take it anymore. Like, what's your choice?
Yeah.
You have to do something, right?
Yeah. So this is like not only shoulds or shouldn'ts within yourself or telling yourself that, which is going to lead to guilt.
Mm-hmm.
But when you are directing the shoulds to other people, you should be doing that or you shouldn't be doing that. That leads to anger and resentment, not only within the person, but also within the person on the receiving end of that.
And you know, the reason we do the shoulds is because we would like to think we have more control than we do. And so if something happens and we say to ourselves, well, I should have done this or I should have done that, it isn't true. And what's more important and healthier to say is, okay, how am I going to respond to this? Or what can I learn from this? Because we can't undo what happened.
Yeah. And number 10 is labeling. So this is an extreme form of all or nothing thinking. Instead of I made a mistake, you say I am the mistake. You know, so I think this is actually as a form of shame.
Yeah.
Right? Where you're self-labeling in a negative sense.
And I think you can do that to other people as well. And, you know, we do things like you are always doing this thing.
Right.
You know, and that is that really stops you from having any alternative outcome because it instantly locks you into a same old pattern.
Mm-hmm. The next is personalization. And so personalization is believing that you are responsible for events outside of your control. My partner's in a bad mood. It must be because of something I did.
This is sort of like a little bit of narcissism.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It's very narcissistic.
Like it must be me, you know, and there's a lot of us that love this one. And I think for the same reason, if we personalize it, if we say, well, it must be me, then maybe there's something I can do to change it.
Yeah.
However, if it's not you, you could do all the things you want to change it. It's never going to change, which is what makes it a dysfunction because it was never you to begin with.
Oh, the wind shifted this way now. That's great. Hopefully it's not affecting our microphones. So to the 12th one is control fallacy. So either you believe you have no control over your life So now that makes me a victim,
Everything happens to me.
right? Or that I am responsible for everyone else's happiness. Now I'm a martyr.
Yeah, and if people don't do what I want them to do and tell them to do, then I'm wrong. And when it goes badly, I have to blame myself.
Yeah.
Even though you don't realize other people have control over their own lives.
Absolutely. So, these are a very common, this is a very common concept in psychology. This is something that is taught by cognitive behavioral therapists, this concept of cognitive distortions. And the belief is that, if we label it, I'm using labeling, but if we understand, the different cognitive distortions, identify, we understand which ones that we use as coping mechanisms in our life, that we could start to shift that.
Yeah, one of the things that Kent Williams talked about, the trainer for the class today for the sheriff's department, is this concept of if you can mention it, you can manage it.
Mm-hmm.
And so try to identify these patterns that you might be doing. It's probably not all of them, but you might have one or two that are your favorites.
It's funny that you mentioned, Kent said that. Actually, Kent, he quoted Mr. Rogers.
That's right.
Mr. Rogers said, if you can mention it, you can manage it, right? So that's whole premise of understanding cognitive distortions is understanding, seeing it, identifying it, being able to see it, happening within yourself, so that you can actually change it. You could start to change your behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you so much for joining us today.
Here comes the worst part of our podcast. We don't know what our tagline is.
It was a very short and quick one.
No, but
today.
that we don't know the tagline.
Yes. Well, the whole premise of this podcast is to start and have conversations about mental health, because having conversations start change. And so let's keep talking, Delta County.